Family. We're back at Chester Flamenco, attempting to contribute more things to flamenco, information. And today we have, well, no need to introduce my partner Carlos myself. We are here again for one more day. And they do not require numerous introductions to the realm of flamenco and experts in guitar playing. But for those who don't know them, here we have Francisco Sánchez, guitar maker, one of the guitar makers that we consider to have the most prestige worldwide. I am aware that you do not enjoy hearing this type of information, but it is our perspective, and we are compelled to be truthful, as we always have been, regardless of the outcome. So, welcome Francisco to Chester Flamenco, to Solera Flamenca village, to all this setup that we have here, and always striving to promote the guitar. And in this section, we are extremely excited and thrilled to have you here to learn about your story, because we know it. We have been following you for many years with great interest and admiration. But, and we all know him perfectly, everyone, but there are many people who we would like to know the story firsthand, your beginnings, projects, and a lot of information that we would like you to contribute, and in this way, that you contribute in this way to be able people to know you a little better, to know who is behind Francisco Sánchez's guitars, right? That is not any more personal than you are, really. So, teacher, the initial inquiry we desire to ask you would be, well, undoubtedly correct, wouldn't it? Beginnings, right? How does a person decide in their life to dedicate themselves to such a complex world as an artistic life, right? And also presently, subsequent to having developed and lived and performing admirably in your position as a lifeguard, as was your situation, at what point, how do you determine, at what point do you contemplate, hey, it's finished, I'm going to pursue what I enjoy more, because being a lifeguard was naturally a job that you enjoyed and was rather artistic, and it is, isn't it? However, at what specific moment do you actually decide to take that leap, as we always say, a little crazy, which encompasses everything we dedicate ourselves to in the world of art? We don't care about anything else. It's a bit of a personal way of thinking, wanting to be happy above all else, without any reservations or compromises. So, inform us, Francisco, what's your starting point?
My origins are somewhat unconventional in this realm. As I am the offspring of a carpenter, a craftsman, I devoted myself to the art of woodworking, joinery, preservation, but all interconnected with the medium of wood. My father has passed away. I continue with in relation to the business, and it has always been a search for something that I did not have knowledge of what it was. Yes, I participated in several projects that consistently ended up that way subsequently. And I had a business that had 4 or 5 individuals working with me. Each year, we would reach an agreement with them, which included economic conditions. However, one year, they all approached me collectively because they had already established their own lives and business projects, and they requested economic terms that I was unable to fulfill. I found myself all alone one night, feeling incredibly overwhelmed, with my wife by my side, who was equally unsure of how to support me in that moment. And thanks to her, I have to personally give her the grace and express my sincere gratitude for all that she has done. And the truth is, if I give them to you, one night he starts playing a serenade that is in my town.
On the road?
On street.
On street? Prickly pear?
The customary tuners, comparable to troubadours, is that correct?
And she communicates to me, what are your preferences? Why do you not involve yourself with that particular matter?
At 3 a.m. and everything is quiet, surely?
I have already worked at 6 a.m. in the morning.
They have woken up.
At 6 o'clock in the morning. And after that, a few days later, I coincidentally run into one of the members. Because we are a close-knit town, we know everyone, and I casually approach him. Hey, so what's going on with you these days? And you tell me that you play something. I mean, well, I fiddle around. The bandurria, the flute, the music, the quena, but not me. Yes, I do have an essay one night. I went to a rehearsal, I went to another rehearsal, I went to another rehearsal. I went out one night with them, I started making the suit. When I realized he pulled me all the way, why, They have very bad instruments. The banduria could not be played, and he fell into a trap. I began on the second and commenced creating three, one for other members, and another for a nephew of mine with whom I have been having numerous interactions recently, more than is actually required.
For those who are unaware, he is your nephew who provides substantial assistance in the workshop, has a strong passion for crafting guitars, is also a fan of this world, and is a flamenco enthusiast. We have a close relationship with him as well.
It's correct, that same one. But one thing, from not knowing anything, from building... Man, I had repaired a guitar, we had constructed a case together with my father in order to make a guitar from scratch. I possess specific concepts, but an extremely limited amount, an incredibly small amount. I mean self-taught, yes. And I started asking and seeing it felt like the current time. Looking at one instrument, looking at another. Why?
Which years? We are having a discussion about the year 1990.
Towards the conclusion of the 1990s, as the decade came to a close.
At the end of the 90s. Of course, looking from the inside.
I have an advantage as a carpenter. I'm from the world of carpentry. Do you work with timber? Man, I have a highly significant foundation with that. The truth is that I created the flags, and the flags came out as intended. Magnificent. I still play the banduria. Of course, that leads me, I start to get to know other tunas, to relate to other people, and they start to find out, well, fix me, remove me, make me a banduria, make me a lute, make me I don't know what. From that point, I built a vihuela. I've crafted legs, I've made, right, it was quite a challenge. I love challenges.
I love challenges. And it's a guitar. And it's a guitar. A guitar, another guitar, and an arrangement, and another arrangement, and each time the carpentry was parking it.
Yes, and the work. And the work. He was putting everything. Of course. Until gradually I realized that I also want to thank a friend of mine who resides in Granada, Japanese, named Masaki, who...
I trust myself. I send many guitars. Many. A lot.
See, many guitar.
To repair.
To restore. And those were my initial contacts with the guitar.
Of course, at the moment there is the irrefutable proof, right? When one has contact with the great masters of history, it is not the same to analyze that. One must also know how to analyze.
I have seen all the guitars, Jordi. All. My house is of any brand. I don't want to give any brand here or any...
All. And in the most unexpected places, there is always something that surprises you, making you think, I can apply this valuable lesson to my own life.
However, any instrument that comes into my possession, I examine it closely. As an illustration, as a restorer, you have a multitude of hands at your disposal to aid you in your work. We've always trusted you in sending guitars to restore, as you have a special talent for restoration. You have also had access to see many guitars, from many brands, and I suppose that out of all those brands you have seen many that have been a reference for you, both acoustically and in terms of construction. In most cases, these two aspects are closely connected. Generally, a person who is capable of producing a good sound acoustically tends to have a high level of expertise in construction. In my personal experience, I have come across various items, excluding Torres, whom I have held, but I have not had the opportunity to thoroughly examine it in detail. Apart from that one, nearly all of them.
Santos, Marcelo, Reyes, Rodriguez, all of them. What has he gone for? Can you provide more details about his current situation?
In my opinion, it is not just about aesthetics. I pay attention to the craftsmanship, those who are skilled in playing the guitar. I have very limited proficiency in playing it. Those who enjoy it are drawn to other pursuits, but I observe the guitar from a distinct perspective. And that aligns somewhat with my individual preference for sound. There is a person who surprised me a lot, whom I saw in the first guitar, and the sound of that person was Barcelo. I was very surprised by that guitar. The first contact I had with an instrument, let's say, of a certain category already, Marcelo Barbello, was a person who surprised me a lot. The thing sounded fluently like that characteristic singer's emergence. That's my world.
Frank, it is highly intriguing what you are stating regarding restorations, as it serves as an indisputable evidence of a theory that we possess and that, well, we will discuss in a different program concerning a project that we specifically have for a school. And why is it important for us to know the great artisans of history? And why is it so important for us to know the great artisans of history? Because if you don't study from the sources, let's say that for a guitarist, it is inconceivable to play the guitar. Unbelievable, right?
People understand it. It's inconceivable to play the guitar without listening to Paco, Vicente, Paco, Niño Ricardo, Sabica, and the great ones, right?
In general, of all there is. You listen, draw your personality, and you are unique from others. For us, the world of art is like this. You have to drink from sources, you have to nourish yourself, you have to acquire knowledge. The guitar is the same. Sometimes we've talked to artisans, names can't be mentioned, but that's the reality, right? I mean, we have experienced this. What are you talking about different? Hey, have you tried a guitar from such year, from such craftsman? And suddenly, well, no, but I have seen a template. But if we have the store there and they have not had that concern of yours, in your case, apart from coming many times and spending whole days here with us, analyzing guitars and testing and hanging out together, listening to each other, our thinking and criteria. Additionally, you've restored many guitars and drawn from various sources. You have mentioned some artisans, including Marcelo Barbero, Miguel Rodriguez, Jose Ramirez. It is also interesting. Now I think about all the guitars we've made for you, based on incidents, events, and details that have happened during the process. And well done repairs.
Francisco Barba, we've also taken another great one, already consecrated in history. What's happening?
Your guitars do not look like any others, and instead they are in line with certain quality acoustic patterns characterized by pulsation. Achieved, we have theory, clear about it, achieved thanks to studying and experiencing sources. Because one really self-taught, because one really hasn't had someone by their side telling them this is done like this, but really self-taught, this person has been able to restoring so many guitars and analyzing. You don't play the guitar, but we know perfectly well that you put a chord. You put a guitar and you know perfectly well at what level it is. Many guitarists often don't understand this. They say, but how can these people be if I play the guitar much better? This person plays a chord, giving me a guitar diagnosis they don't quite understand, but that's how it is. There is a sensitivity that even if you don't play the guitar, is capable of analyzing the tone, the touch, but in 10 seconds, right? They have this, they have it.
String instruments. I play great bandura and rhythm. Guitar, specifically, not a wind instrument, but I do have one. I only know it's a difficult instrument, what a landolo instrument is. It lacks tones, all those things. I observe and listen as I see impressive figures. What they play in front of me, and this is captured, it is the existing person. Yes, you perceive it, but you don't have to.
Perceive that when you yourself put a chord and do like this.
The sensitivity, right? Yes, you perceive it, but the tools look distinct.
The individuals you mention are of that same quality level.
However, that is crucial. It is of great significance.
It is simply that we strive to make people understand us, because there are many individuals who are experts in the world of guitarists. I mean, any friend who listens to a lot of guitarists can explain to you what they feel when they listen to Vicas, what they felt when they listened to Manolo Lopez, to everyone, all of them. But on the other hand, speaking of guitars, they are not able to give you that diagnosis, and it's easy when you've listened to several. Understand what Carlos comments. He doesn't understand it, but he also learns this, that everyone has a different voice, different qualities, and everyone is different. It's hard to compare. As a friend of mine, a collector, used to say, the best guitar in the world that I've seen, the best. She says it's the last one that enters my home that day. I mean, that is when there is something so good. It is not that you get tired, but suddenly something else just as good comes along, and the test says, oh my God, this is the best guitar I have ever seen. At times when people explain, they say it's too much, right?
And you feel it from the heart. Next month, it'll be another guitar.
They're fun experiences that we live. We'd like people to also understand that this exists exactly the same as with guitarists. And when you mentioned restoration, it reminds me of this. how fun it is to know that you have drawn from so many sources and then have developed with woodworking knowledge, with what you have been able to analyze from all these guitars. You have created a product, a guitar that is on the same level as these, but different. So this is amazing for me.
The auditory experience is exceedingly challenging to replicate or reproduce with a high degree of fidelity and accuracy.
Spirit, right?
The soul. It is an amalgamation of countless intricate details that I firmly believe give rise to the unique and distinctive personality of the individual who constructs it. It is the manner in which you hit, squeeze, how you sand, how you position your hand, and how you apply pressure that defines your unique approach. That is reflected. Two people in the same workshop, with the same template, with that, copying, helping each other. The instruments are not the same.
They are not identical, but your explanation helped me visualize two individuals working in the same workshop, using the same template and woods, with everything being identical. Despite the similarities, they are still different. However, they both share knowledge, with one being the master and the other being the disciple. Ultimately, their collaboration results in the creation of a high-quality instrument. Why? Guidelines purpose? Why?
Only him, alone, in your house, without speaking to anyone, and that is highly challenging to progress.
In the end, share, right? It's what has always happened in art, right?
Always listen to criteria. Say this. Analyze something they've told you, or you've heard, or that they've told you, or that you've heard from them. Trapped in your house by yourself, with your back turned to everything, believing that you are the focal point of the world? No, it does not revolve.
That is why sometimes we discuss it extensively, evolution does not come with age. In other words, people associate more years with more experience. No, the experience is in the person who has an open mind and their concerns that pass the years. No, truly, the documentary concerning Paco, the search, the never-ending search for truth and meaning.
Ah, your garden room, what's up? Well, so what? While I'm going to keep going, I have the same or even more illusions and more projects than when I was younger. And the thing is, I enjoy this. The day I lose that, in any profession one may have. In any profession, not just in this, when I don't feel like learning.
And I stated in a manner, attempt to excel without showing disrespect to anyone. Strive to be the best.
I understand.
Not overlooking anyone, but striving to be the best at what you dedicate yourself to, you have finished. The day you lose that illusion, you are completely finished and there is no turning back.
And I do not, up to this day, and that never-ending search.
That endless search, yes. Completely satisfied and never-ending. It causes me great torment. The principle of cause and effect is always at play. Cause and consequence, cause and consequence.
It bothers me. It's not the word with which...
When you communicate in a manner that suggests you have a wealth of knowledge, but you are unable to provide a rationale or explanation for your statements. And I'm always in search of finding something good, searching for situations that make me quickly see the cause, the reason why things happen, the underlying factors that contribute to outcomes. And starting from that point, well, I proceeded to create a guitar for tuning. I proceeded to create another guitar. How to tune a guitar. Because Francisco, for those who don't know, has a lot of prototypes. He's like the Einstein of guitar making.
To be able to decode those enigmas, naturally, because...
Actually, they are schools. Those enigmas are not truly enigmas. They are a study, a tradition that has been conducted for a specific reason. However, why did he not let you proceed with it?
Convinced it's fine, but I'll decipher why.
Guitar 650, a bit more in.
The bridge, a little bit. More. Once glued, if bridge doesn't tune well, you've gone too far, fallen short, now what? Utilizing the guitar of the sun, detach the bridge and stick it back again? It's an effortless task. Therefore, you need to search for an accessory that is not fixed permanently, but can be adjusted to meet your specific requirements. enabling you to determine the optimal position when you consider yourself to be at the ideal point.
So, you transfer that knowledge to your instrument. It is a prototype that you currently have in your possession.
Sure. No, your guitar is not a thing. I do not possess knowledge. We are currently engaged in conversation. The guitar, for a guitarist, the primary requirement it must fulfill, for John Baume, is to provide a high level of comfort and ergonomic design. The guitarist feels very comfortable, which encourages him to play. And that has two. There is a balance between the acoustics and the comfort. When the guitar, from an ergonomic standpoint, is comfortable for a guitarist, it predisposes him to have a positive inclination towards the sound. And that both things go. Well, when you obtain an instrument of your own, to make it sound good acoustically, string it. If not, I can't touch her. Yes, it is uncomfortable. You really hate it a lot.
However, it is indeed true that we have discussed it on numerous occasions, also with our friend Pip, who shares many common interests with us. This topic is incredibly fascinating. There is something, we do not know why, it is inexplicable. You take a guitar and feel a pulsation, a typical left-hand bounce, a comfortable pulsation in the left hand, the bounce in the right hand. And it turns out that by picking up the weight and seeing the pulse, you don't know why, but you know when.
Place a rope. It will sound good.
It is absolutely incredible. I mean, how is that even possible?
In other words, it is acquired using the cable and the anchor, and then it becomes a prototype, correct? Something I can physically touch that feels very comfortable in this hand, but if it becomes soft in this area, it ceases to function. You can make the instrument softer, but even though I'm talking and there's tension here, it's not that easy anymore.
If no tension in lid, there isn't.
Propulsion, there is no engine. Where do you play? Where do you play? There are a plethora of things that can be touched. However, the problem at hand is that you are required to fabricate an instrument, as you have been entrusted with a commission, and it is simply not feasible to center your life only. No, and if you do something she doesn't like, yes, you can't play. I mean, you have the ability to make very minor modifications.
For your personal satisfaction of witnessing how it operates, without sacrificing the quality the client has requested because they have heard something they liked and want, at least the same level of quality to be maintained.
Of course. And I make a prototype. A prototype that often takes me 2 or 3 months, or a year or so. With my head like this, they ask me, "What are you thinking?" I am currently contemplating something that I have, and I often wake up in the middle of the night, deep in thought about this particular matter that occupies my mind.
Hence, it is crucial for one to meticulously observe and closely examine their surroundings in order to ascertain which specific item is the guitar in question.
That are highly comfortable in the left hand and possess this tension in the right hand. That is the characteristic of these items.
What does she have that, Grandma Feather, what is it that the guitar possesses that mine does not have? You must be capable of searching, because one gazes at their instrument and salivates over what they have accomplished, but it is futile. It doesn't work. For you, you really like it, you enjoy it. It's satisfying when a skilled guitarist arrives. If what he says is false to something that is false.
It may be so, but for him it is. But for you, he knows that you're not fully satisfied. You aren't completely satisfied.
When? How do I speak? However, the fact is, when we discuss this matter.
Fran, it is crucial to provide context to the audience so that individuals can comprehend us. We are interacting with extremely geeky individuals. So, of course, sometimes when explaining it like this, in this way people may think, look, try a guitar and it didn't go well, and no. I mean, we are talking about something that is already at a top level, and yet it comes from there a little. Well, I always believe that the documentary Paco made possesses an incredible depth. Paco de Lucía made his family, specifically his son, the director of the film La Búsqueda. And you realize that there is an incredible depth to this.
And in this that we're talking about, it goes a little related. Why?
Discussing a guitar that anyone who listens says, look, he didn't like it, surely he had, but an inexperienced person arrived. No, no, no. In other words, an inexperienced person came and liked the guitar, or an expert came and liked it, but you are never happy.
So I have conversations with a lot of friends, and they say, man, when I'm looking for a guitar to talk about something, I change the bridge, the spacing. In the other one, I put a little less and compare it with the previous version to see the difference and make a decision. But that is not scientific.
Because we are talking about a different sounding box, different materials, and the result is not, it should be the same experiment.
Certainly. So
And I observe moving components, and I observe powerful immediate causes.
In the shovel, too. In the shovel, one of the prototypes.
That is incredible. On the bridge produces an impact without eliminating the rope. Without eliminating the rope, but it does have an impact. And you come to the realization within the very same echo chamber, variation is what affects the sound. Exactly. And another thing, any change in sound of the instrument is another sound.
the reason it sounds different is because the same sound box with different string attack conditions and tensions produces different sounds. Otherwise, it is simply the act of picking up a guitar.
And adjust it by half a tone higher or half a tone lower. And the guitar produces the same sound.
In fact, Frank, I'm going to tell you something really geeky. That we had a friend, and sometimes we would spend whole afternoons doing guitar tests. And as soon as we came up with a theory, which we are going to tell here, very crazy, right, Carlos? The topic of the natural tuning of each guitar. No, of course, the guitar is tuned to a standard level at 440 so that several people can play together. And in fact, if I see this, well, they say, right, that during the Second World War, through Hitler of history, which comes from Germany, the issue of making a tuning that the Spanish guitar was tuned to 420 and was raised to 440 for orchestras and such. There are theories about this. There is also not a complete 100% of information about this, but with numerous theories, there must be a reason behind it. Suddenly, of course, we talk to friends, hey, we have serious suspicions that every guitar, at a crazy level or not, to say, you're bored and you have a great time making comparisons, but you were making comparisons and it was seen that you said every guitar has a tuning. Each guitar, natural. If analyzed, it's the most crushing logic. How can each guitar have a tuning at 440? 440 is the norm. What's up? We began working on the harmonics in the lower section, specifically the bass strings, and would perform a brief scale, play a chord, and then announce, all right, now we will decrease the tuner from 440 to 435. We achieved it again. It seems that the curling is still unfinished. The note goes straight, but it still doesn't go up. I mean, it's not working, raise the grade. And in the end, at 422, 425, you found the tuning for each guitar. Once you had been performing this task for only 10 minutes, you would grab the guitar and commence playing a small Solera. And that was madness, Frank. That is not... I know that more than one individual may be thinking he is completely crazy, but it truly was something extraordinary.
Playing, that is excellent. And the blackboard that you are going to touch, is that correct? When playing with others, you can't use it. Because if you play with more instruments, especially, you'll tell everyone. Guitar, do you recall it? I do not have that in practice. However, you have a logic.
It's really overwhelming.
The logic is that you have created certain conditions in that sounding box so that an individual can go to the numbers 439 and 3438. That is the specific location where that person is directed to go based on the established conditions within the box. Axe rails join, align, precisely. I am thoroughly convinced of that, because each and every time I insure a guitar, they are constructed using different materials. Different in everything, different density, different weight, different weight. Found wood of same species, varying 200 kilos per cubic meter from each other, of same species. That cannot receive identical treatment or attain an equivalent acoustic result as a lighter one due to its inherent weight and structural characteristics. As an ideal, guitars are desired to be lightweight in order to be easily carried and played. Lightness? I mean, when you, for example, make a wood, Yes, it's just that it's not. The light is one thing, and the
Consistency. It is a thing.
consistent but lightweight, right? Exactly that.
But it's final. No.
I have seen heavy instruments that sound very good, very light instruments, which is not a rule of. That's why but you, for example, when you go, there is one thing that we discard a lot, that is not excessively soft. It's important to be mindful of the items we choose to discard, ensuring they are not overly delicate. We should avoid getting rid of things that are still in good condition or can be repurposed, in my opinion. When you commence playing the guitar, all of the softness has practically disappeared, leaving behind a sense of almost complete absence. But we discarded it. We want one more thing, that we can make it a little finer, more rigid.
However, Fran, ultimately what you're talking about are advanced construction concepts, let's refer to it as such, but that is true in essence. What should be done? If you do not do it, it is fine, right? I have spoken with artisans and I respect the opinions of others. And I've talked to artisans I disagree with. It depends on their policies, right? They say, when I find a soft guitar, I have an issue, I make the top thicker. And a guitar with a thinner top, I make it more difficult, I make it thinner, and the issue is resolved. To have the greatness of history, I don't like to talk, it depends on how, because it seems like one is speaking in an absolute way. But it's not that I'm speaking in an absolute way, it's analyzing the greatness of history. They have saved some patterns in their search for specific woods, with specific densities, and to give it the specific thickness that they have always done in order to have a personality. Your guitars always have consistent personality.
Therefore, you have your own way of looking for your lid, and you don't take risks. It's not that you discard it because it's not worth it.
To help people understand the concept of why you discard a lid, it is important to have knowledge of working with wood. By making the lid thicker, you can create a high-quality instrument. But you put at risk maintaining that personality line.
That's the reason why I did something else. I haven't seen it yet, with the inventors. Get a guitar that I can open and close. I require a musical instrument that has the capability of being opened and closed.
And change the lid. And then I will try it in the same sound box, not in another one, because if it makes a different instrument, one with a soft cover and another with a hard cover.
The other, it's not.
However, if you take it in the identical resonator in the same amplifier, you modify what vibrates, or in theory, you modify what vibrates, or you modify what we are, the primary component. The primary component. All right, let's proceed, shall we? We will compensate, remove that one and put another one, a soft one, a hard one. Let's see the result.
We are surprised by the same thing, aren't we? Yes.
No.
Total. Additionally, those inventions are enjoyable, but it is enjoyable because you create personal inventions for the personal satisfaction of witnessing cause and effect happening in front of you. However, irrespective of that, you proceed to maintain a regularity and consistency in the usage of your instruments. What happens is that you are not fully happy until you know why they sound like that. What I disturb. I think this is nourished by what we were talking about before, the search and dissatisfaction.
Totally.
In other words, making an instrument of the highest quality with a guitar that, pulsation, resonance. For us, the individuals who know us are fully aware that you are one of the top 5 individuals we like the most worldwide today, as of now. You do it, and yet you believe you can enhance. I think that's where the innovations come from.
Regarding the information you're providing, I am somewhat of a catastrophe, but extremely thorough and precise.
I write down everything, the weight of the top, when I remove the mouth, when I put on the bracing, when I put on the back, the guitar before one thing or the other, because nothing is left to chance.
If there is always something that the height I have left, the rod, the height, if there is something I don't like or something similar to that, I go back to the one I had before. I always keep track of everything I go, the frequency of the stage, when it starts, when it ends, when it finishes, when... That is the reason why he states that I have a regularity. I always endeavor to utilize the same thing, not make any drastic changes or modifications, that are too extreme in nature. Always a little thing, not me. The lid here. So what Jordi and I always discuss in relation to consistency, for us it is practically the most important thing, correct? I mean, when a person is able to replicate, because sometimes you can try a guitar and you say, wow, this guitar is really good, right? I want to try another of this same guitar, maybe due to its connection. Claro?